Welcome back. This is the last week, championship game week. It's always going to change the board, but at least now we have a CFP poll and we can start making some guesses. And believe me, that's all it is right now, is guessing. We think we've got it down to a couple of teams, but there's still other teams in our mix. The reality is the championship games in my career since the CFP was formed, every year has changed everything. So stay tuned for Sunday. Probably sometime around 5 o'clock, we will make an announcement. We'll make the announcement first at the Jaguar game, since we will be here in the war room, and we will pick the team and tell the Jaguars, and then we will let the media know, and then at 6 o'clock, we'll have a media interview with the two coaches of the two teams that are participating in our game. So we're kind of excited about that. Look at this. LSU and Georgia are both in the top 4, but one of them is going to lose. So that means that Georgia or LSU one is not going to be in the top 4. I would tell you LSU still has a chance to get in the top 4 if they lose a close game to Georgia. So that is maybe the biggest change that could happen up here. Utah has got a game against Oregon, and that's going to decide the Big 12 champion. So let's assume that Georgia gets beat. Utah moves up into the 4th slot. Oklahoma obviously plays Baylor. That game was, Baylor was leading by 25. Oklahoma came back and won. So who knows who's going to win that game this time? But obviously the Big 12 is in the mix to get that spot, whichever one of those teams vacates. Then you go right down the board and you go Wisconsin, they're playing Ohio State. That's going to cause one of those two teams to lose. Florida's not playing, Penn State's not playing, Auburn's not playing, and for the first time in a long time, Alabama's not playing. Oregon's 10-12 and obviously playing Utah. Michigan's 9-3 and done. 10-2, 9-3, 11-1. This importance of Memphis is that they are now the highest ranked of the group of 5, which means they get a slot more than likely in the Cotton Bowl. We'll talk about that over here in a few minutes. Minnesota really got dropped a lot by losing. They're 10-2 and ranked 18th. Boise State would sure like to try to figure out a way to get ahead of Memphis. Cincinnati, Appy State, they're both in that same mix with Memphis. Boise State, Cincinnati, Appy State. USC, Virginia, Navy, Oklahoma State are all done. One would think that they would not drop out of any of those positions based on being finished. Here's the real big thing for us. Florida has now moved ahead of both Auburn and Alabama. Florida is more than likely now going to play in the CFP group, the 6 bowls that make up the college football playoff. So that's kind of a lot of fun to look at and realize that all of a sudden they beat Auburn, Alabama dropped behind them. So that's a mixture. So let's come over here and look at the SEC. So we got Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky bowl eligible, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State. Texas A&M we had last year. That's the only team you can really take out of our mix. I would tell you that if Alabama and Auburn are both in this mix of bowl games, I'm not really sure the Citrus, the Outback, the Gator, Music City, who goes where. We're kind of looking at perhaps a Tennessee, a Kentucky, maybe somebody else according to what the other bowls do, or where the teams want to go, or where the SEC thinks they can create the best matchups. So that's going to be an interesting deal for us. I would tell you that while I still have Georgia and LSU on the board, neither one of those two teams are going to play down out of the New Year's Day 6. So we feel confident that Georgia and LSU will be off the board when it's our turn to select out of the group. So that's this one. We have now made a decision not to do anything with the ACC. So we're not going to pick an ACC team. And so we come over here and we're going to pick a Big Ten team. Well, again, one would think that Ohio State and Penn State would make the New Year's Day 6. Wisconsin's the wild card. If they were somehow able to beat Ohio State, that could turn that thing around a little bit. But we believe that at the end of the day, if Wisconsin loses to Ohio State, that Penn State will move ahead of Wisconsin, and in that case, Penn State goes to the Rose Bowl. It leaves Minnesota. We've had Iowa. We're not allowed to take Iowa back, but it leaves Minnesota. It leaves Indiana. It leaves Michigan, and it it leaves Wisconsin perhaps in our mix. And we've got 1, 2, 3 ranked teams. We're feeling good about being able to pick somebody over here. And especially given the fact that Iowa's the only repeat team, so we can't take them. So we have a pretty good selection process. The selection process starts at the Citrus Bowl, goes to the Outback Bowl, goes to the Holiday Bowl, and then comes to us. So we're gonna get a pretty good football team with a minimum of an 8-4 record on our side of the equation, so we're really excited about it. I just played some games over here, and I guessed, and that's all this is a complete guess. But I got LSU in the Final Four, playing Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State playing Utah for the semifinals in the Peach Bowl. Somebody would say to you, what the heck is he doing putting Ohio State in the Peach Bowl and not sending them out west? I believe if Ohio State's got to play Utah and they're number 1 in the country and they get their pick, why wouldn't you make Utah come all the way across the country to play? And you go here, because either way, Ohio State's got to make a trip. I don't know, that's a guess, right? But I still think I would make Utah come across the country to play if I had to play Utah. Any of those other teams, Ohio State may feel, hey, we're all going to travel, so let's just go out west. Certainly LSU and Clemson would be better to be played in the Peach Bowl, but I just don't know how that's going to work. But the bottom line is, that's right now my Final Four. So then you go to the Orange Bowl, an ACC team plays in the Orange Bowl, Virginia. I believe now that Florida will play in the Orange Bowl. I think Memphis is a lock on the Cotton Bowl. This is strictly a guess over here. Baylor and Oklahoma, or Oklahoma and Baylor in one of those 2 slots, figuring they play a close game and they don't drop. They may, but I don't know that they would. Georgia plays in the All-State if LSU wins. Penn State goes out to the Rose Bowl. They play Oregon, which is a second place Pac-12 team. And I've got now in the Citrus Bowl, Alabama playing Michigan. Again, that's a guess. I wish I could say, hey, we're gonna have Alabama or Auburn or LSU or Kentucky. I wish I could say that, but you just don't know, because these championship games have changed things so many times. So I guess if you're a big fan of one of those schools over there, you kind of take a look at what the national guys are saying and listen to them if you want to go ahead and buy your tickets, or do what everybody else does and wait until Sunday. That's when we'll all know everything. And so we're excited, because right now it looks like we're going to get a pretty dang good matchup for our 75th game. We've got a number of celebrities coming back. We've got Steve Spurrier, Archie Manning, Floyd Little, Frank Beamer just told us that he's coming back. So we're going to have an awful lot of celebrities coming back to our game for the 75th game as part of our 75th notable football players and coaches. And we're excited about that. There's a number of other people. We will make a press conference announcement probably in the next 10 to 12 days about who all's coming back, what we plan on doing, and getting them a chance for you guys to meet those great players of Gator Bowl history. The TaxSlayer Gator Bowl is excited about their matchup. We're excited about January the 2nd, 7 p.m., unopposed. Our TV ratings should be great. We should show Jacksonville off to a lot of millions of people watching around the country, and that's what it's all about. Fill up the beds, fill up the seats, and have great national publicity. And so that's what we're after, and I think we can accomplish that with these teams. I'll talk to you again, I guess, Sunday, and we'll find out where we are. Thanks.